I'm trying to protect her from these thinnest kids of mine. But seriously, it's the culture now that people have established their own righteousness. They have their own ideas of how things are and what they feel, and it's dangerous. It really is. It's a society, a whole society of people that believe that way.
Yeah, we're going to talk a bit more about that later on, because we really need to talk about that. Dr. Kirk, we need to talk about that real good today. And we are going to talk about that in just a little bit. Are you all enjoying this so far? This is some good stuff. Yeah, don't you can't get this on Sunday. I'm telling you, we are here to help you plant, build, and dominate in this earth. We cannot just get up, go to work, pay bills, come home, go to church, go home, and that be it. No, we got to have some dominion over some stuff in this earth. And we're going to do that by people like this who help teach and train and lead us to help us be able to plant, build, and dominate in the earth. Amen? Amen. All right, I want to hit on something else. And let me ask you out there, October 3rd, 1995, does that ring a bell to anybody? No? 95. Some of y'all wouldn't even hear that. Well, on October 3rd, 1995, at 10 o'clock a.m., after 4 hours of deliberation, you got it now? The jury found O.J. Simpson not guilty on 2 murder counts. News of this verdict had a disruptive effect in the United States and abroad, as an estimated 100 million people worldwide watched or listened to the verdict announcement. Now, do you know how he got off? I'll tell you how he got off. There was a group of lawyers. You remember what they were called, anybody? The Dream Team. And OJ got off. If it don't fit, that was part of the Dream Team included Robert Shapiro, Johnny Cochran, that was the man, Robert Kardashian, and several others. The Dream Team got OJ not guilty verdict. Also, we live in an endless era of basketball debates. LeBron versus Kevin Durant. You basketball fans in here? Should you or should you not trust the process? Is Danny Ainge crazy? All this stuff. Any old schoolers remember Danny Ainge? You remember him? Here's one thing most pro basketball fans can agree on. The 1992 United States Olympic team is the greatest in the history of basketball. There was another team that they called the Dream Team. The roster of the 1992 team reads like a wing of the Basketball Hall of Fame. Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, Clyde Drexler, Patrick Ewing, Magic Johnson, our boy Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, Chris Mullin, Scottie Pippen, several others. Chuck Daly, the late Chuck Daly, served as their head coach. This was a dream team. Everybody remembers the Dream Team. Now, pastors and churches and businesses, business owners, we need to develop a team who executes our vision, right? You need people around you that can execute your vision or your of your ministry or your business with integrity. Is that right?
Amen.
Dr. Kirk, I want to ask you, what qualities are necessary for one to lead effectively in ministry and in the marketplace?
Well, integrity is very vital. Integrity is not about what you say. Integrity really is about honesty and being right. Jesus expects us to live right, talk right, come on, walk right. You know how we've said that. But integrity is very important. And every leader, every pastor, every senior leader wants to instill in his core team, in his inner circle, he wants to instill integrity in them. And it goes back again to being, I think Pastor Otis said, several have said, being teachable. You have to teach people what it is that they're supposed to display. So if if you're going to work with me, you gotta, don't mind me saying this, you gotta be like me.
Yeah.
You know,
That's right.
you gotta be like me. You gotta mirror, what I am and what we stand for. Now, it's not all about me, but I am the person that's ultimately responsible for everything that takes place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so if I can do it right, I expect you to do it right.
Yeah.
And I expect you to lead right and to instruct people right. And in that, as a senior leader, every moment becomes, just like with Jesus, every moment becomes a teachable moment.
That's good. That's good.
If the water is spilled and it's got to be mopped up, some folk will just walk over the water. Some people do that. They just walk right around stuff. Some people stop and pick up paper. Others don't. And it's in our presentation of who we are and what we stand for. And so integrity, I'm telling you, it is so important because people will always find something to point a finger at you, something, but just don't let it be true.
Yeah.
And you don't have to argue it. If you know it's not that way, it's just not that way. And so, I think integrity is very, very valuable in our approach and our display, and in those who are displaying what we stand for and what we represent when we're not around.
That's
Because
important.
the ministry is not just in here on Sundays, it's when we leave here too.
Yes.
Like you said, it's young man's watching you. People watching you don't even know.
Yeah.
And they keep a record of what you say sometimes, and you don't know until somewhere down the line. So, it's not about walking on eggshells, but it is, again, it's about living a life of righteousness and just having an honest approach to life. And people can appreciate that. They really can.
Yeah. That's good.
So, Pastor Tyree, how important is it y'all know I'm big on integrity. I'm sorry. This matter is very, very serious to me because we profess Christ and we say we're this. We talk about the popularity of being Christian. We say all this stuff and we post all these things, but we lack integrity. That's a problem. Listen, you have to be who you say you are.
That's right.
All the time. And when nobody's looking, or when you don't know they're looking, you still have to be that person. Because people, as we found out listening to Pastor Otis, folks are watching you, and you may not know it.
Amen.
And if you have a lack of integrity, that will show up in every area of your life. It'll show up. And so, Pastor Tyree, how important is it to maintain good character and integrity when you are a member or leader of a church or corporate organization?
Well, I think that's very powerful. I think that every leader, no matter where they lead, it could be the church or it could be the marketplace. I think that every leader is only as strong as their staff. We can go back to Exodus when God challenges and calls Moses. He calls Moses. Moses says that I have a stutter. And God refuses to address his stutter, but continues to lead him to his hand and says, what is in your hand? And Moses simply says, I got a staff in my hand. And Moses didn't understand at the time that God was prophetically teaching him how he was going to lead, that you can do more with the right staff in your hand than you can with your own hands. He kills a man when he sees him being mistreated with both of his hands, banished to the desert for 40 years. But he leads over 4 million people through the Red Sea by holding up one staff.
Right.
He does more damage with the staff than he does with his own hands. And I think that it's very important as believers that we have to understand that we are only as strong as a staff of people around us. The only thing that Moses has for the rest of his life is his staff. He carries his staff to get the 10 Commandments. He carries his staff to the Red Sea. He carries his staff when Pharaoh's army drowns in the Red Sea. You are only as strong as a staff around you. We can even go to the life of David. David fights